on this episode, Himanshu. I think long pending, but glad it's finally happening. I think this is going to be a very, very interesting chat. And to everyone else who's tuning in, Himanshu has a very, very interesting journey so far. He's been on the founding side, leading products across multiple companies. And today, he's on the product and growth team at Ola Electric. Lots of interesting insights lined up. Himanshu, welcome to the pod. Thank you once again for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Suhas. It's really nice to be here. And it
Awesome.
actually, myself being a follower, or I would say appreciating the product folks community on an everyday basis, I'm really fortunate to be here.
No, likewise. Super excited for this episode. Himanshu, just to kick things off, you've been on the founder side, you've started up. You haven't had a traditional path, as I'd like to call it, up the PM career ladder. How's the journey been so far, and what's in store for the next 6-8 months? How does life today look like for you?
Sure. So very interesting journey, actually. Like I never thought also that I would be a PM someday, or doing some interesting stuff like this, or building a digital products. I'm coming from a core civil engineering background, graduate from NIT Nagpur. At that point of time, I was into event management and used to do so many things for my alumni affairs committee. Also for the various different sections like street plays and everything. At that point of time, my friends used to tell me that you should go for an MBA. You are a manager material. You should go for that kind of a thing. But I never thought of that way. I thought, like, let's stick to the core. I'll maybe start a construction firm later. Obviously, the companies came, and eventually I got placed into Shapoorji Pallonji. I went there. It was like a 3 months period, and I instantly know that this is what I do not want to do. So I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I know that this is definitely I don't want to do. At that point of time, it was a very easy decision for me because I was in Calcutta. I was exploring different areas. It was a new city for me. I'm primarily from Jaipur, Rajasthan. But I was exploring the market, and I got to know about a lot of things around clothing and printing, and eventually explored Tirupur, which is the main cotton hub. And very much interested into advertising and marketing. I started a company after leaving the job. Never had a plan to do that. But when once finally did that, to pitching B2B companies for their advertising and marketing requirements to help them building their videos, because I was very much fascinated by the YouTube ads and never skipped them. So when I used to do that, I thought, like, I'll also do that. I'll do that create that story for these companies. While doing that, we realized the major margins we are getting in the merchandises. So we've pivoted to B2B company who is supplying merchandise, designing for them, and eventually extended it to like a e-retail. We started creating our own in-house design merchandise for the consumers, like Bewkoof.com or Soul Store. And we're selling on Flipkart, Amazon. Eventually realized that this is a great business to be in, but it's not something which is very limited with the geography. And there is a quality constraints if you are not having your own manufacturing. And also the logistics is a pain if you are actually shipping like containers of the things, and if anything goes missing, it will be a huge pain. So I realized that where the delivery is digital delivery, it's like it costs zero directly, right? And everything is running on the server. So I very much into getting to know more about the technology, which very much inspired about it. And serving all the colleges earlier, various IITs, IIMs and BETs, and my own college and the various corporates, I had a bit of a network. So I met this founder I was helping with the requirement, Raghav. And Raghav, Ravi, they are two people who were thinking about this concept of social network of writers. I joined them as a third co-founder, and we started working on building social network of writers. Again, while doing that, we knew exactly that these writers wanted to get published into various magazines and newspapers. We again extended it to a B2B arm, where we have built the SaaS tool for these publications to source content from these writers. And we have done a pretty amazing job. We raised 2 rounds of funds from Rajasthan Angel Investors Network and RM Ventures, which is a extended arm for Oxygen. as a oxygen company running by the Pramod Saxena. We have done a pretty good job. We expanded to multiple countries and partnered with various publications in the country, like very big names, India Today and Rasan Patrika at that point of time. Onboarded approximately 1 lakh writers. So it was a crazy journey, and this helped me happening because we had a strategy to create a Kalaage representatives in various colleges and getting all those folks to help us gaining more writers by running competitions in their colleges. That was amazing. It was really helped. That network from the previous work helped here to set up that thing. Again, after 2.5 years, a funding crunch, and was not able to expand the market over there. We all pivoted into a service-based model, and then I took an exit. And once I took an exit, I joined Xyla Health, which were like, we were only few people, 4-5 people at that point of time. I was in a founding team and started working on their product, eventually leading the entire suite of products for them. It was a diabetes management, virtual diabetes management. Later, we again expanded into various different diseases like liver health, cancer health, and again now B2B, focused on B2B. So this journey from 0 to 1 earlier now is helping from going to 0 to 1 and then 1 to 10. We expanded to like approximately 5 lakh plus patients serving across the country, which is very, very much heavy a diabetes industry. And then after 3.5 years, when we found the product market fit, I realized that this is doing great. Now it's for me, it's a time to build something next level, which is EV. It's a well-connected product overall, where the physical product is there. There is a physical product, my software is there. There is another connected app is there. Then there is an entire digital journey, which is revolutionizing the auto industry in itself. So the entire different setup of the sort, which is for the next 10 years, I wanted to be part of it. So hence joined the ship in at Ola Electric. And for the next 6 to 8 months, honestly, don't know what is going to happen next, but very excited about what Ola is doing here, revolutionizing the entire space and building for the future, which we truly get goosebumps for as a product person. That's
100%.
what it looks like.
100%. I think, like we were discussing backstage, I think you're probably the most enthusiastic person we've met in this space, and super excited to go deeper. We will go deeper into the Ola Electric journey, but just before that, I think a couple of inflection points that you mentioned, right? You don't come from a traditional software background per se, right? But then again, you've been able to build your startups, get into a lead product of sorts, right? Whether director or senior product roles, right? So this is not a traditional journey of any sort. One that how is your journey? Do you ever feel like, hey, I'm from a non-tech background? Does that ever stop you, or do you feel certain hurdles? How do you overcome this? And second, while you're making these career transitions, are these accidental, or how are you trying to layer each over the other? Right? This is not a like we'd say, this is not a traditional PM1, PM2, senior PM kind of a role. You're not following that path, right? So these two transitions are definitely not traditional. How have you been able to tackle them? Any frameworks that you've been using? How has it been for you in general?
Sure. So this actually has been opposite. Like it started from like CEO, then co-founder and heading product, and then head of product at Xyla Health, and then now senior PM at Ola Electric, leading this order. This is a fulfillment engine. So this is exactly going. Then next, I don't know what could be the next thing, but the interesting part here is, so I had a friend when I started the first company in the t-shirts. So for that, there's a very good friend I have from the school times. He was a techie and he's an expert in his field. So I needed a website for my platform, hashtag trends. So his name is Manish Joshi, and he's like a super amazing guy who knows everything about tech. And whenever I had any issues with the tech, so he was there to help me. So when I built the first website, before starting hashtag trends, there was a gap of 3 months where we both were exploring to run a product called shopsdekho.com, which never came to life because we went to a lot of shops and then they said, They will not put up their inventory. They don't want to share their designs. They sell their pieces to different people at different prices. So we were trying to build an e-commerce platform at that point of time. Now I knew little bit about tech, but this person has given me so much confidence that anytime I need a help in the tech, he will always be there. So when we started with the Kalaage, Ravi again Pipilani was a co-founder and CTO at Kalaage, who is an amazing tech wizard, and he knows everything. Wherever I can bring the product and design knowledge, I was bringing that again along with the business knowledge. So I never felt short on the tech though, logically. But when we were building Xyla Health, at one point of time, we get into really deep tech like microservices and Kubernetes and how to scale the infrastructure. At that point of time, I was not up to the mark. So my the co-founder and CTO at Xyla Health, Tanmay, and later new CTO Aishwarya, they really helped me to pick up the skills in the tech. They motivated me. They want me like, go check this SQL part, go for this one, check the Python course, basic. We were having a 2 long hour discussions, and they were helping me to get into that. All the developers and engineers, I was sitting with them, reading their code and trying to understand what logic they have written. So the entire base of this thing is all the logic, right? And at a point of time, I realized I was telling them or I was discussing them what the logic should be, and they were implementing that logic. So that's how eventually the confidence get built up slowly. Nice. And today, like working with the engineers and telling them what to prioritize, what not to, where the most time you will get consumed in, and what will be the elastic search will look like, why you want to build this product, why you should not. That's how you gain that experience over the time.
Got it.
That is what is happening with me.
Nice. So for you, it's been mostly learning on the go, just being a little more flexible, a little more open to that. And while you face a problem, do you think Google has been your best friend? Have you been able to find everything on the go? Has there been challenges there?
So I think the people were always the best source of learning for me. And I always say, whenever anybody talks about like what books they should go through, what courses, what material, I say, do not do anything out of these things. They will suck your life out of this thing. What you need to do is, you are spending 9 to 10 hours on the job. Just focus on those 9 to 10 hours. Spend your energy along with the people you're working with. Learn from them, learn with them. Try to grasp as much as possible. You will be 100% dedicated to your job, to your work, to your community of the people you're working with. You will be able to create value for them, and you will be able to learn so much of them. You also will be able to build long-lasting relationships. Yep. This is the main thing for a product manager, or I would say any role which needs a cross-functional alignment. So 100%. Just focus on that. Like really helped me to learn on the go, and learning by doing is my philosophy. I would not say like you read a theory and then you go for it. It really helps, but learning by doing. Hence, I am not like a guy who had a traditional path. I just followed the other approach.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. I think relationships is definitely the keyword there. Would you have just to take the audience deeper into this, can we take like an example of a situation where this happened, right? And how did you go about tackling this? Maybe not from the recent days. I think you've been in the industry for quite some time, but somewhere where, I mean, it sounds great, right? What you mentioned, like have the right set of people who you can, lean upon when you face a certain issue. But oftentimes practically or in realistic life, I think it is not as easy, right? To just build those relationships, asking for help, right? Asking for help itself, I think lots of people, just don't do it, right? Don't do it or don't do it enough, right? Would you be able to walk us through any example that comes to the top of your mind?
Sure.
Any situation.
So I would say the core of for me is here. There is no loser in a winning team, and there is no winner in a losing team, right? And as a product leader, which I feel that I want to be on that journey where I'll be enabling myself and my teams to do better. The only thing which helps for me is trying to make the other person win in every situation possible. So when I'm working with someone, obviously, if I do not have any kind of relationship with that person, and I go to that one and I start asking for the help, it's very difficult for me to get the help. But so let's talk about a situation where my engineer is negotiating with me to get the things done. And he was giving me examples. And then I say how well you can do this piece rather than this piece, but adding a business context at the same point of time, that do you want the business not to happen this, and can you think of the other ways we can do it so that the business will be able to generate this more revenue or acquire such more users, or be able to complete basically ship this entire package in one go for the best experience possible. Because as we has gotten from the research and the data, they would have understood more, they have talked at length about it, and then we have came to a conclusion, oh yeah, this makes more sense, we can try that, we can attempt that. And then again in that negotiation we will be again, so if I am not trying to help my engineer that what you should prioritize, what you should not prioritize, then again if I'm leaving it up to him, see, I want these pieces to be done, you have to finish it, I don't care about it, it's not going to happen, right? I have to help him to choose the battles over there. So in that case, it really helps. They see that this person can take a decision for the entire product to succeed. This person is trying to enable me to make me reducing my load and trying to make me achieve more in a very shorter time. That's what make them win. And
Nice.
it works all the time. Not a single
That's a great
time.
point. No, honestly, I think that's a great point. Just breaking it and just being around. Himanshu, has it ever happened that while building these relationships, they were like, hey, he doesn't come from a traditional CS background, or he's probably never worked on code. I'm assuming this, right? Has it ever happened that they're like, okay, maybe he doesn't know what he's saying, or did you ever feel that, right? Like sometimes it happens that our own inferiority complex sets in, right? Maybe not in your case, but did that ever happen to you? Or if, for a lot of people, when they come across this situation, how do they tackle it?
100%. Every time, right? This happens to almost every PM in this country. I would say why? Because the PMs generally come from a traditional MBA background, like in many organizations, right? And they do not have a tech background. Even if they have a tech background, they were working in a corporate and their role suddenly changes to a management, and then they move to a with the traditional path of MBA and then getting up into a product role. They started becoming a business focus. Their entire mindset is changed. And I would say as a PM, I would say honestly, the problem is if we try to get into the way of an engineer to take a decision, it's his decision that what should be the best way to execute this piece. We are not an engineer, we are not a designer. So they are the core builders. You are just an enabler. So if you think for your business that how you can generate a value for your business via helping your customers to get their job done, in this process, if you let the engineers and designers do their job, you will be sorted. Having an extra knowledge on top of it definitely helps to have a fruitful discussion and to optimize for the scale or for efficiency. Because user experience is not always about great design of the product. It's also about the loading speed. It's also about the same screen looking similar on different devices, right? So those things don't happen if you don't get into that. But without getting into that knowledge part, without you helping yourself to learn more about it, your engineer also won't respect you for that. So if he's trying to have a conversation with you which you are not understanding, go read about it or ask someone whom you trust. You can ask about it and then come back and have a discussion around it. Or even you can start asking the question to that engineer itself. Okay, I don't understand. What do you think? What is the best way? What are the alternative ways? And that person will start telling you because you are trying to learn from that person. And whenever you try to tell other person that, hey, I want to learn from you, I don't think so they ever had any issues. It's like they always feel empowered into that scenario.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Thanks for sharing that, Himanshu. I think this was a great start. Now going a little deeper. I mean, we haven't even reached the meat of this session, right?
No, I'm actually loving it.
Yeah, no, I think this was a great start. Honestly, I think just covering these points, and thanks for being so realistic about it, right? I don't think we talk about it enough. Jumping right in, I think currently you're probably leading one of the hottest products. I think Ola Electric is something that is definitely, I think, revolutionizing in some form, right? EV in general, I think the entire industry is something that is very, very new, but very, very promising today. And you all are at the center of it, right? So how's your experience been? I think it's been a agile environment for you for sure, because it's an industry which takes 5-10 years to mature. I think the auto industry is not as easy, but I think y'all have been in a race of sorts, right? So internally, I'm sure there are lots of things that we can pick up on. To kick things off, how has that been, right? In general, processes, pace of innovation, shipping products, innovating in general. I think this will be a very, very interesting thing for us to learn more about. So how's your experience been so far?
So the experience is amazing. And for the one reason, Ola hires one of the best talent in the country. They spend really a good amount of time in hiring and in the quality of a candidate. So when they hire that, they obviously expect the person to jump like on a problem and start trying to create value over there. And what we really care about is the speed. Okay. We definitely want to be the best quality product ever shipped in the history into the EV space. But you imagine the 10 years of work happening in 1 year, and this entirely at a parallel. The factory is getting built, the lines are getting set up, the vehicles are getting shipped, we are outsourcing parts, we are celebrating so many events internally, we are doing test ride campaigns across the country, we are building a digital journey of buying the scooter, we are building a digital way to deliver the scooter, which we actually have. You never heard, right? 24 hours delivery of a scooter. You just and मतलब 2 दिन में तो कपड़े भी नहीं आते यार कभी कभी.
Exactly.
So the 24-hour delivery of a vehicle, and on top of that, a great design of a product. There's a vehicle engineering team working into it. There is a design studio which is working on that. There is a vehicle software team who's trying to perfect the maps, who is trying to perfect the software into the product. And I think we have an amazing product leader as Shuvanil, and the entire Bhavish's leadership over there, who has a vision to build something truly global and substantial for the long term. While seeing that, I'm amazed by the speed and the conversations happening on a daily basis. People are like literally burning midnight oil and trying to go beyond their scope to do it. There is no limit. And there is a meme internally go on like, my friend really talks about it that यार स्कूटर भी बेच रहे हो, कार भी बेच रहे हो ओला कार्स के थ्रू, तो क्या लेना चाहिए? और अगर दोनों ही नहीं लेना है तो कैब तो चला ही रहे हो, तो कैब में यूज कर लेता हूँ. So exactly, so we have an entire understanding of the mobility space in such a way, and there's a product teams into different domains. They come in these discussions, they add value. That how you should be thinking about it. What's the mindset of that user who is trying to book a cab, or what is the mindset of that user who is trying to get a car, or what is the mindset of a user who is trying to like buy a scooter now, which is the EV scooter. We are competing with everything. We are competing with the second-hand car as well. We're trying to compete with the normal scooter as well. But creating value in that entire space and doing so good. Like, I think it was truly overwhelming for me.
Yeah, for sure. Going a little deeper into that, Himanshu, everything aside, how is the just being able to ship so much in such a short period of time requires finding some process within this entire chaos, right? Essentially, it is. Has there been anything that you've observed or anything you've implemented? If you can just give us a walk down, right? How is it even can be possible? How many product teams are there? How do you all coordinate between each other? Is there a certain way of working? For example, at Amazon, like they have this famous 6-page memo rule, right? Or you need to send in notes before your meeting so that everyone's on page, or the 2 pizza rule, like stuff like that comes up. Is there anything internally that you see that has helped you ship so many things at such a rapid pace in such a short period of time? Is there anything that come up that you've noticed?
So nothing as compared to Amazon, like in a very similar way, but in a very standard way. I would say when the company is true to their vision, it doesn't matter how we are going to achieve that vision, right? So our product strategy or our company strategy is very clear about that, what we wanted to do, how we wanted to become the industry leader in the EV space, how we are going to capture it with the first two-wheelers and then eventually cars and then more things, how we are defining the variants of that. So that has been strategized in a really well defined way in our document, has been discussed with the leadership agreed upon, and then so your roadmap has been created on the basis of your product strategy, right? And roadmap is all about what things you want to build, but what you are not going to build, and that is very much clear over there, what we are not getting into, what is our not our job, right? So if I am going to get some work if I can outsource some work, which I can, which is not my core, then I should be doing that and trying to get the best players in across the industry to do that job, and then uh, building faster on top of it. That's how we outsource basically and allocate resources accordingly. So we are like not overhired. We're very lean about it, and that roadmap basically gives a clear transparency to the entire different teams. There is a vehicle software team, there is a overall vehicle commerce team, there is a
how big is your product team today?
I think the overall product team looks like with the various functions like content, design, product, analytics, and everything, approximately 300 folks across Ola.
1600?
300.
300. I'm so sorry. I was like, wow. Okay. But 300 is still quite a large number, right? How do you ensure everyone's on the same page? Essentially, when you're moving so fast, different pods working on different parts. So how does communication internally look like? You mentioned documentation. What's your tool stack like?
So this entire 300 are basically working on different products, right? There is a Ola Foods, there is Ola Dash, there is Ola Mobility. There is a lot of different products altogether, right? And Ola Financial Services. Now we are trying to create into Ola One as an overall thing. And there is a master documentation, but because we want to keep a very easy way to collaborate and share, we keep our Google Docs as the primary way to communicate, right? Okay. That's what we use. But for the engineering, we actually use Atlassian's product, Jira, Confluence, everything for the well documented, and trackability is mentioned over there. On an individual level, people are very much okay. It's very having a freestyle kind of an organization where you're free to do a lot of things on your own as well. You can come up with your ideas, you can do things, and then you can put it in a doc and you can share. Eventually, the final approved way, we follow the defined formats into Google Doc, because that has been consumed really fast way. There is a defined format, there is a defined way of release notes, there is a defined way of product strategy, there is a defined way of product roadmap. Every team is following the same. Every team has the access to the different things. There is a defined tool for the analytics where they can easily check the analytics for the other products as well. Obviously, depending upon the access control level. But that's where they will be able to create a lot of value for each other and have a discussion.
Awesome. No, thanks for sharing that, Himanshu. We'll probably trouble you for some of these templates, which we will try putting down in the description if we do get access to it. Sure. But, going a little bit on the hiring side now, I think grown pretty fast, and you've been on both sides of it. Now you're probably, growing your team as well. How's it in general been? Like, how's the process like? How many rounds generally do folks at Ola do? How was your experience interviewing at Ola, given that, you came in at a senior PM role directly?
So I think the interview was not very easy. But it was not extremely complicated, as once you have the foundation like very solid, then you do not need to be much thinking about and the other troubles around it. It's very easy to get into that. So
when we say foundation here, what do you mean by foundation?
Foundation in your core principles of the product management. If you understand that, like, let's get bit into it. So I think I have 5 rounds of interview, and there's one last HR round. My first round would be case study round. They will try to give me a problem statement, and I'll try to solve that. Right. So very interestingly, they give problems around the charging problems. There is a charging infrastructure entirely with respect to EV. There is a cancellations happening in the cabs.
Oh, yes.
And there is a very interesting problems around that. And there is also like it all depends upon the interview panel that what they are thinking about it. It's not restricted to anything particular. So they try to understand the problem solving skills. You're mainly revolving around product design questions, right? If how will you build a product, actually how will you design that user journey, and how you build on top of the user pain points, how you trade off the solutions. So that's the one thing. Second is your mainly behavioral interview. How will you deal into certain situations, like we were trying to talk about it. If your engineer is not able to collaborate, or is not trying to help over there something, or if you need alignment with the business but you're not getting it, how will you do it? So those kind of behavioral interviews, how will you basically pass those situations. Then there are third round of interviews, mainly talk about my experience in general, how breadth I have covered into product management, and how much depth I also have in a product, right? Matlab, how much I understand about a particular type of product, or how much industry-wide exposure or the business models, strategies I understand in general as a concepts, like from my past experiences. The fourth round of interviews, again, trying to build on the top of the third round, and from the previous questions. Like suppose the first round we have discussed about the case study, the same case study, but you have to do it in a different way, or an extension of that thing. So on building on top of that, I do not remember very clearly about the fifth round, but something very similar to again understanding the concepts of the product management in general. And I think one person really asked me, how will you hire a product manager in your team? So the entire discussion was on that how will I hire a product manager, from the starting to shortlisting, planning, thinking, hiring, freezing, closing, getting an offer letter, and then bringing that person into the team, and then helping him to set up for the initial weeks, and trying to make him the success in the longer term. So that is an entire thing. That's a very beautiful question. I think every PM should be aware of as they are following a journey of a leader.
Do you have something documented around that? Maybe have you been able to document it somewhere?
No, not right now. But I was thinking, while speaking about it, I think I should document it. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do about it.
Yeah, we'd love to go deeper into it, but I'm sure this podcast will become very, very long if we do that. Himanshu, it was amazing chatting with you, and we hope to catch up with you once again down the road to hear how your journey has evolved since this conversation, and go deeper into the stuff that you shared. Thanks once again for joining us today.
Are we not having that rapid fire? Where is our rapid fire?
Unfortunately, we've just crossed way too much on this episode, and that's the reason I had to edit this part out. But we will do a separate bit on the rapid fire for sure.
Sure, 100%.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Himanshu, for joining in. I think this was amazing.
Thank you, Suhas. Thank you so much.